say we need to tweak it, and the big fish here?
Thank you. There are always big fish when you're looking for tax evaders. So we definitely, we're just waiting for the program to close, and then we can see who has actually taken advantage of the opportunity and who's left. But in terms of policy, we set out two objectives. And as I'm sure you know, Nigeria had the lowest tax to GDP ratio in the world. The only country that was lower than us was Saudi Arabia. And at that time, Saudi Arabia didn't have a tax system. So we were at 6% tax to GDP, one of the lowest in the world. And that was a fallout from thinking that we were an oil economy. So one of the things we had to do was to really reintroduce the tax system to our people. The other problem we had was a very low number of taxpayers. 13 million taxpayers out of of about 65 million economically active Nigerians. And most of those taxpayers were salary earners. So what we realized was the middle class, the owners of businesses, and the high net worth were not paying taxes. So we set up those objectives. Get more people aware of their obligation to pay tax, get more people into the tax net. And largely it's been extremely successful. The last figures we got from the Joint Tax Board is that we now have 19 million taxpayers. That's about a 40% plus increase in the number of taxpayers. The long-term impact on that is going to be very, very significant, particularly for our state governments who collect personal income taxes. So we'll continue to tweak the policy. We're targeting, at the moment we were using the 80-20 rule, which was take the biggest taxpayers out first and then trickle down to the lower end. Largely, we've had very, very good declarations from very large taxpayers. And I think I was sharing earlier on, one person, for example, paying 250 million, 300 million. Those are the sorts of people that have come into the net, which is very, very good for Nigeria, because it means that those who earn the most, who under the tax system should pay the most, are actually standing up to their responsibilities. But we'll continue to look at the policy. We'll continue to see how we can bring more people into the net. The problem we have with the structure of our economy is that it's possible to live in Nigeria underneath the radar and never have paid the right taxes, and nobody will ask you any questions. Because we're using a data-driven approach where we look at what assets do you have, what bank accounts do you have, what property do you have, what's your lifestyle, and then we look at your tax returns and see that there's a disconnect. How are you able to afford this lifestyle if your declared income is so low? So because we're using technology, it's a lot easier to pull people into the net. It's a lot easier to show people, and when we show people what the information we have on them, they're really usually quite alarmed that data and technology has allowed us to assess people properly. So we think the long-term benefits of VADES, apart from the cash, will be fairly considerable. And of course, this is part of the funding mix to fund our infrastructure, having sustainable tax revenues to continue to support the programs of government. But yes, I mean, we'll continue to tweak it. We'll continue to work on people that are still able to evade, people that are still able to misstate their income. But the thing is, technology is such, and the cooperation that we have from foreign governments is such that there really isn't anywhere to hide anymore. And I think a lot of Nigerian taxpayers are realizing that and embracing the tax message.